I'm the founder, owner of Three Sisters Artisanal Meats. We are currently headquartered in Boise, Idaho, but I am originally from Northern California. But I think the genesis of the story really begins in northwestern Spain. So um, this company really is kind of a reflection of a couple of different things. One, my parents are immigrants from Spain to the United States. So I'm a first generation American. So there's that aspect to it. There's the history of our particular region of Spain, and a way for me to effectively just honor that history, honor that story, and honor that cultural aspect. And the way that I'm doing it is through food. So my parents are from this province in Spain called Leon, in the northwestern part of the country. It is just to the south of Asturias. We're essentially neighbors with Portugal. And in that particular part of the country, they make a variety of different cured meat using beef and pork uh, primarily. And, every this tradition goes back like centuries. So effectively, kind of what I've tapped into is this craft that's effectively been in both sides of my family. Because both sides of my family are from this particular province. Their villages are all basically like next to each other. Um, but this goes back like hundreds of years, like I said, on both sides of my family. So, they would do things like they would cure jamon, right? So they'd cure ham, and they would make lomo, which is, cured pork, and then they would make chorizo. And chorizo is effectively like I like to call it kind of like Spanish, the Spanish version of salami, right? It's effectively pork and salt and spice, and that's it. So it was just one of these many things, right? That my dad's side of the family would make every winter, mom's side of the family would make every winter, and when it came to my parents, they were growing up actually like in a really, I feel like, interesting part or interesting time in Spanish history. So I will say, prior to me kind of embarking on this journey of building a food company and getting into charcuterie, I was actually a history teacher for about 12 years. I taught primarily American history and world history, and that was kind of what my focus of study was in undergraduate and graduate school. So, but I mean, that's kind of where I got, I think, my real interest in this entire period was because I just really like history a lot. And, I've read up a lot on it and studied it. And I've been really, really lucky to have gone back to Spain um, a good amount of time and have really gotten to know the North, which is where my family is from. So my parents both grew up under Franco, under the fascist dictatorship of Francisco Franco. Both of my grandfathers actually were conscripted to fight in the Civil War, which basically was like the preamble to World War II. So both of them were part of that. So I've always been kind of fascinated with my family history, um, and like I said, learned a lot and really kind of understood and got to know like my parents' own immigrant story of why they left Spain and what brought them to the United States. Because they came for different reasons, effectively. I think my dad was both like he wanted to just leave the country for a little bit and have an adventure, and he actually came over to the United States as a cowboy of all things. So he was in Washington State, and that's where he started as this cowboy sheep herder. And there were at that time they were actually hiring out a lot of young Spanish men that my dad's age. He was 25 at the time to come over to the United States and do exactly this kind of work. So he his generation is interesting because he is like the last of this generation of Spanish men to come over to the United States, like to do that kind of work. And then, my mom came a little bit later. So they happened to settle in this part of Northern California, which is really very agricultural, very remote. Um, it's in Colusa County. So if you think of where Sacramento is, which is like in the middle of the state, we're about an hour north of that. It's farms and ranches, and that's what I grew up doing. I grew up on a sheep ranch uh, with dogs and sheep and trees and all that, and all my friends were kind of grew up the same way. So I grew up very much in agriculture, and just the way that the chorizo fit in. Honestly, it was something my parents and I just did since I was very, very young. They brought it over with them. They had this recipe. We would do it every winter ever since I was 2, 3 years old on our ranch. And we just kept doing it every year, every year, every year, every year. And effectively, just like eventually, like I'd say about 7, 8 years ago, between my wife and my really good friends, they're like, you could probably do something with this. So I took the recipe and basically have built a company out of it. So we make sliced chorizo. We make chorizo link. We make it for retail. We make it for wholesale. So we sell to grocery stores, to restaurants. We do private labeling. We do food service. We're actually actively trying to get into a couple of airlines currently. That's a goal of ours. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is kind of my way of, I would say, contributing to this, story my parents started, but at the same time, rooting it back to, who my family is and who we are and kind of what we came from. And my way of doing it is through food.
You're muted.
You're muted, Elizabeth.
Fantastic. Where can people go to order? What's your website?
Sure. The name of the website it's threesistersmeats.com. So it's the number three and then sistersmeats.com. And then we have our two retail products. We have our two wholesale products. And like I said, right now our goal is to we're working on getting to some regional markets. For example, in your part of the country right now, we do sell to some independent markets, but we are trying to get into Ingle. That is one that we're actually trying to get into right now. So that's kind of the scope and size of what we're looking at.
And we can definitely help you with that and share the videos, and we have quite a few openings for you. So I'll get back in touch with you post event. And if you're watching and you want to help, get going. So now you know everything. Make sure you subscribe as well.